There comes a time when you separate the faith that saves from the institution that suffocates. And I say this with clarity and not bitterness, that I have left the label of Christianity and the Christian church. I didn't leave God. I left what I would say so many have turned his house into. From the worship of power, the weaponization of scripture, to the performance of faith that has lost its soul, the noise, the hate, the judgment wrapped in scripture, the things that parade around as righteousness, the silence towards injustice, the applause of celebrity preachers, the greed, the misogyny, the patriarchy, the political theater performed from pulpits draped in holy language instead of holy love. So, in walking away from all of this, I have been able to choose peace. I have been able to choose truth. I've been able to choose a God who meets me in the in between, the same God who was with me before I ever sat in a pew. And for me, this isn't rebellion, but it's reverence for the God who speaks in the quiet, who can reach out from beyond stained glass and the echoes of self righteous voices. And I would say for anyone who's in this same space where you're trying to navigate between tradition or what you may have been taught and what you thought you have known for however long, to a point where you're having to decide if you want to transition or if you are transitioning. It's plenty of people who are in this same area. And for me, I just can no longer stomach what has been done in God's name. So for those of you that's like that, you're not alone. The church for me is, as a collective, is no longer the bride of Christ. It's just a bunch of church folk role playing. I remember when I used to be in Georgia, my home pastor would say, "Don't be so heavenly bound that you are no earthly good." You know, you're so wrapped up in being this sanctified person, so you would think that you neglect the suffering of others around you, that you are no good to them, that you don't try and help them out. And I remember he used to say that all the time to us, and it's, to me, it's just too many people that sit on their high horses pretending that they don't fall short of the glory of God day in and day out, but as the world around them, around us, continues to burn and just is divided by chaos and genocides, and people are crying out in different ways and for different things, they tell themselves that God will fix it, forgetting that faith without works is dead. And so for me, I can't continue to stay in that type of a space. When churches build walls instead of bridges, to me, it's no longer a place of healing. It's just a building. That's it. And some folk that's in the church, they like to rank sin. And that's the most crazy and most hypocritical. I shouldn't even say the most hypocritical, because they outdo themselves so many times. Like, you would see them bashing the LGBTQ community. You would see them talking about abortion or how women dress or talk or whatever the case may be. They use this as a barometer for their morality or for your morality to judge whether or not you even have it, while at the same time they ignore the corruption, the cruelty, the sexual assaults, the pedophilia that's just inundating the Christian church. And it just is wild to me. They won't even police their own ranks, but they're quick to remove the plank from your eye. And I remember sitting in a church that I thought that I would join. To me, the congregation was diverse. It was near my house. It had a lot of energy, pretty decent sized crowd, varying services. And it seemed like it was pretty promising, something different. But on one particular Sunday, the pastor was white, and not that it really should make a difference, but this guy was. The congregation was pretty diverse, but anyway, this guy was white, and he just, for whatever reason, that particular Sunday, I don't know what triggered it, but he got up and he started chiding the Democrats. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. Not that it would matter, but he chided the Democrats. He started going on and on about abortion. And then he reminded I guess, whoever those folks were that were supposed to be going and protest Planned Parenthood, that was supposed to happen right after church. And I'm like, I didn't even know, for one, that there was a Planned Parenthood in the neighborhood. I've never used a Planned Parenthood for services, but still. And then for two, how can you condone or even endorse people going to harass folks trying to go and get services? You don't know what they're there for. You don't know what their situation is. But to just, yell at them, to embarrass them, to try and dehumanize them for trying to just go and get services. To me, I couldn't stomach that. And that was pretty much my last Sunday at that particular church. But I would say probably my final straw with just a Christian label altogether was just watching how the institution in and of itself just endorsed this administration. You know, Trump is one thing, but for the church, no matter if they're, evangelical, black, white, Protestant, Catholic, or whatever the case may be, but for the church to sit idly by as this guy destroys everything that has been built, but to go even further by just dividing people, being so mean and cruel and evil, and then to say that he doesn't think he even is going to get into heaven. I just, like, how do you abide in something like that? So for me, I believe in love, justice, compassion, and truth. And I don't think, for me, the institutional church is a vessel that carries that anymore. And so I just decided to walk away. It's for me, has become just a symbol of division and performance. Not all churches and not all church people are considered church folk, and some are saved and are trying to do the right thing, trying to live each and every day Christ-like. But as a collective, it's just disheartening. And so for me, I can't stomach it anymore, and I have decided to walk away from the church. And if following Christ means becoming more, or rubbing shoulders with those that constantly misrepresent his message, his word, then I'll choose to walk that road by myself. I don't want that type of iron to sharpen me, and I don't want to sit in the space that they're sitting in. So for that, I walked away from the church.